back here at JBF Music and Guitar Lessons. So this quick guitar tricks we're looking at the Jimi Hendrix bending technique. AC/DC and lynyrd Skynyrd are probably also points of reference. There's 6 licks you can use this on, and then I'll do a final extra trick that uses it in conjunction with something else. The basic technique is to bend a note up on one string and then catch another note on a different string, which will be pre-bent, then return it to pitch. The effect is quite bluesy, maybe a bit like a slide. You can let the notes bleed into each other if you want, but for these licks I'll be muting them. So we bend a note, I'm just going to go with the 9th fret on the E. Bend it up a tone. You want to catch a note on a different string, mute the original one, so you can either wait till it stops ringing, you can kind of roll your left hand slightly so it's not on it anymore, or you can use a finger from your right hand to mute the string. Then what we want to do is play the note on the B string, which will be pre-bent, and then return it to pitch. Learning this technique at first, what really slowed me down was not using the pad of the finger. So I tend to bend with the tip of my finger, see more clearly there, more like that. If you use the pad, so the tip being here, the pad being this bit, use the pad that's easier to roll onto the new string. Use the tip. It's a lot more difficult to do. I also tend to reinforce the bend, so just to be clear, when I'm bending, I'm doing all the kind of rolling mechanisms with this finger. So bending up, catching the different string, return it to pitch. A fairly low action will help things out here. If your action's too high, it'll be difficult to actually get kind of over the top of the string. You might find the movement is a bit like doing a kind of a roll. It might be like that. For me, I tend to bring my wrist in a bit as well, so I'm kind of going. So you can see this kind of switch in the wrist when I'm moving from one note to the other. It might not help you, but I just try to outline as many techniques as I can think of that will be useful here to help you out. So that's the basic technique. I'd maybe spend a minute trying to practice that, and then what we'll do is look at some licks. These should all work over an E7 chord in a kind of Dorian minor sort of way. Links to appropriate jam tracks as always at the card in the top right. So hopefully you'll find that bending a tone on the E string is roughly the same as a half tone bend on the B. If not, a slight adjustment should sort it out. This Dorian style lick targets the 6th with the bend. The little Hendrix bend trick gives us the flat 3rd and then down to the root. I'm repeating that 3 times and then rounding up by bending up to that 6th. Release to the 5th and then straight to the root. Here you might need to push the B string up a tiny bit to get that full tone bend after the E. So when we bend the E string up, you go straight to the B, it might be a little bit flat. So simple solution, before you play the B, just bend it up a tiny bit more. So you want to bend up, mute the E, push the B up and play it. Obviously the quicker you do that, the smoother it'll sound. You might not need to depending on how your guitar is set up, but I just want to kind of highlight these things as much as I can. And also as a bonus tip, these sorts of bends don't really need to be that perfectly intonated. If you play it with intent and conviction, the slight out sounds should just add a bit of authenticity and vibe. Obviously within reason you need to be sort of relatively on pitch. But yeah, what's happening here is we're targeting the 5th from the 4th with the bend. The Hendrix bend is kind of going a major 2nd down to the root. Then we've got a flat 7. And a little grace note hammer to the root with some vibrato to wrap it all up. Use whichever fingers feel most comfortable for you. I like to reinforce my bends, so I tend to use my 3rd finger. Second might work better for yourself. Just try different things, see what works. Bonus tip, depending on the radius of your fretboard, this might be a bit trickier or a bit easier depending on how your hands sort of work. Not likely to be a huge issue, but if you find bending to the E to the B easier or harder compared to this one, the radius of the fretboard might be a factor to take into account. Anyway, we've got a flat 7 being bent up to the root. You know, making good use of the blues note here with the Hendrix bend. So this one here, so you're going kind of a 5 because the blues note's being bent up a semitone. Releasing it back to pitch will give it a little bit of range to the root, and then this time rounding it up on the flat 3rd for just a little bit more edge. Some nice little half bends going on here. The 6th bent up to the flat 7. Where Hendrix bending across the strings to the flat 5, releasing it to the 4th. Peeling off to the flat 3rd. The root played quite staccato. Then a flat 3rd to 4th hammer. The grace note flat 7 up to the root. Really trying to squeeze in some Dorian blues vibes here. Oh yeah, I'm not too sure how many of you guys find the interval analysis helpful, so any feedback on that would be appreciated. And this one, you could actually play the bend as a double stop if you want to as well, letting them bleed into each other. A bit slower. Pretty dirty way to play it, but might add that bit of grit that you want. Totally up to you. Designed for a more Mixolydian sound, we have the 5th bent up to the 6th. Hendrix bending this 3rd down to the flat 3rd. Then just down to the root. You'll notice these licks are all starting on different notes, just to give you a fairly comprehensive starting point of where you can use this trick. A very brief flirtation with the dominant 7 sus4 here. We've got the 3rd up to the 4th. Hendrix bend to what should sound bad, it's a slightly sharp root. But remember a few licks ago when I was saying about things being slightly out of tune and just adding some vibes to licks? Yeah, great example of that here. Down to the flat 7. 5th. And then I'm hammering with the grace note again from the flat 7 to the root. So if you overbend this, it's going to sound a bit too nice. You want this quarter tone kind of nasty. The sound on that root there is just going to add that extra bit of spice. A bonus trick to wrap it all up and add an extra layer of difficulty and confusion. It starts off normal enough, we've seen this before. 5th up to 6th. Hendrix bending to the flat 3rd. Then we add in a compound bend, so hold this note and then push it a semitone higher for a full tone bend. Targeting the 3rd, I'm going back down a semitone to the flat 3rd. Oops, wrong string. And then somewhat predictably to the root to resolve it. Followed by a saucy little trill, just to make it a bit more interesting. For more on compound bends and that sort of thing, check out those cards up there. To reiterate, what I'm doing is the Hendrix bend just like before, but instead of returning to pitch on the B, I'm playing it, pushing it up, releasing it to the flat 3rd, and then back down to the root to finish off the lick. As some final bonus tips, you can catch notes that are not only on different frets, but also by pulling down. So what I mean by different frets is, for example, we could bend up, let's just do the 15th fret on the B. You could use this finger here to catch the 14th on the G, or even the D that I did by mistake there. So instead of catching the 15th, we could catch the 14th on the G, or even like I did there by mistake, the D. It sounds pretty weird, I don't know if you'd want to use that, but bonus tip nonetheless. And what you can also do is pull the notes down. So we could get a G to a B, So there I'm just going 14 on the G, the 14 on the B. That was a really kind of funky out there, it's like a slidey kind of Dorian vibe. And you could do stuff from the D to G as well, so let's just do the 14 and see what that sounds like. A similar sort of idea. I'm pretty sure there's a solo where Slash does something like this as well. Maybe Rocket Queen or one of those ones, and it sounds like, I'm just winging this here because it's just popped into my head. I think what he's doing is bending, he's doing a Hendrix bend really, bending up, let's just say it's the 15th fret, I don't know what note it's on. Catching the same note on the same fret, different string, returning it to pitch, and kind of keeping them held under his finger. And just doing that, and then sliding up and doing the same thing. I might be totally mistaken there, but as I say, that just popped into my head as I was doing these, so I thought I might as well throw it in as a final bonus tip. But I'll leave exploring the rest of that up to you guys for now anyway. Cool, so that's the Hendrix bending trick and some licks to try them out on. By all means, play about with them, improve them, and make the licks your own. This has been Quick Tricks, that's the playlist up there. If you like the style of the kind of slide blues vibe going on, check out my Jeff Beck tutorial or this early John Roth one. Hit subscribe, let me know what you think in the comments, share, like, and enable notifications with that little bell on the side if you feel so inclined. Cheers guys.